All right. So good afternoon again. And last time when we did our makeup, we discussed Unit 10. We started with the first part of the Unit 10. Let me give some house rules quickly so that you can be minded as you listen. Your exam will be short answers and just some one or two, in other words, few multiple choice questions if there is the
Good
need for
afternoon.
it. Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible? Can you hear me? I'm trying to shout. Okay.
Yes, madam, we can hear.
Please, I didn't hear the previous part.
Yes, I was just saying that you should expect short answer questions and MCQs in your final exam. The MCQs won't be many, so don't look out for them. Just focus on responding to questions that you will be asked. Okay, the multiple choices, even I may consider not to bring it at all because if you get it wrong, it's wrong, and there is no middle liner to assist you. So that was just house rule regarding your exam I was pointing out. Okay. But the units to engage, like I've said over and over again, for your final exam, which is worth 50 marks, 50 of your final, are Unit 6, what you would know as deduction versus induction. Unit 7, the topic there is inductive reasoning in the sciences and everyday life. That's where we discuss the empirical content, predictive power, pseudoscientific statement, particular general, etc. That slide. Okay, that will be your Unit 7. Then you also have some questions on Unit 9, which deals with causal reasoning, cause and effect reasoning. That unit is where you saw the fallacy. You can tell that I've repeated this announcement every time we meet for the past, I think, 4 or so sessions we've had together. I've repeated that because I don't want people to go to the exam thinking they are going to answer questions on declarative, imperative, interrogative. No, that's Unit 1. We've done a lot on that already. So you will go to your exam looking for matured questions, okay? Like you have grown now, so you have teeth. You will not be drinking milk. That's the whole point. So Unit 6, 7, 9, and 10. And Unit 9 then is where you see the fallacies, post hoc, ergo propter hoc, confusing cause with effect, genetic fallacy, etc., etc. They are all fallacies associated with cause and effect reasoning. Okay. Then you will see the different connotations of the word cause, and then J.S. Mills's method of causal reasoning. Like I've said over and over again, I don't do chew, pour, pass, and forget. You see, it doesn't help you, the student. I do, God willing, the next day that you are. I do application, synthesis, evaluation, examination. I do more of that. Okay. So you evaluate, then you examine, then you assess. That way, in other words, you apply the content. You apply the content. So that way, you are able to test whether you understood the concept and whether you can use it. I guess I will just be recalling appeal to the mass. Yes, Mrs. Formatted. That one, Google can do that job for you, even if it never entered university. But after you know those, when you go to the workplace and you have to apply it, so you want to test and see what could possibly have caused the food poisoning in that school, God forbid, and then you are trying to analyze to detect the possible cause as a medical doctor. So you can make prescriptions about how the people should go about that place. You should be able to do a police report, okay, based on what? Scientific, that's empirical study. So you should be able to apply J.S. Mills's method there. It's application, not just knowing the 4 methods and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so your questions will be application type questions. Okay, scenarios, illustrations. Then you'll be asked to show by the way you are responding to questions whether you know those concepts. I think that for empirical scientists like that's good. But that's how your field is. Like, okay, it's not too mechanical. If this, then that, this has happened, so this should follow. No, that is more like law and mathematics, stuff like that. But your discipline is inductive in orientation chiefly. Therefore, if you know these and you are examining that way, then it helps. Also, it's a 2 creditor, so we don't have to put too much strain on you. You do only 2 hours a week. And if you got that, then we are ready to do the second half of our unit 10, which is on informal fallacies. And we did the first half. I think I spent some time to explain them. Don't forget what we saw. I want you to do the revision. I'll speak with your class rep after this to find out when exactly you are expected to write the exam. I'll see if I'm able to come by myself to conduct it like we did with the IE. Then it's fine. If not, whatever the arrangement is, you'll get the questions. Then you go and answer very simply. I don't think we'll exceed 1.5 hours. I normally like 1 hour, but students will say, "Doc, put a little half on it so that we can take our time and express ourselves and what have you." You shouldn't exceed that. I'm saying all this as pedagogy to help you around as you anticipate your final exam. If you have questions, put your hand up, I'll call you. Okay, so we saw equivocation. It's one of the fallacies that manipulates language. Remember the 3 categories we did together. Equivocation manipulates language. So you oscillate from one of the meanings to the other. Begging the question, we saw that it also manipulates language. We saw appeal to force, appeal to pity, appeal to the people or the masses or consensus or the gallery or grandstanding. See the many names it has. Okay. Argumentum ad populum. Then we saw ad hominem. And I think we paused at ad hominem, if I'm right. Finish that and pause. The eulogizing one, eulogistic, and the dyslogistic, the one that dislodges the person, my friend will say. Okay. So today we want to build on it too. I didn't think we did appeal to unqualified authority. I just introduced you to it and we ended. Okay. So we are going to look at ad hominem. What's the other one? We are going to look at appeal to unqualified authority, and I think that is also straightforward. Let me check and see if you have any questions yet. Any questions? Okay, so if the questions come, then you just raise your hand for me and I'll address them. Okay. Appeal to unqualified authority. Can I have one of you read very quickly? We'll take it from there, mop up very fast. But well, finish the slide. Thank you, Felicity. Go ahead. Take Felicity. The other 2 hands I see Charles Lane and John Michael and Elvis. So Felicity first, then the others can continue later.
Okay. Appeal to unqualified authority, aka illegitimate appeal to authority. Argumentum ad verecundiam.
Yeah.
The fallacy occurs when we make an unjustified or illegitimate appeal to an alleged authority, but such an appeal is unjustified either because his or her area of competence lies outside the field in which the matter falls, or he or she is not adequately informed. The fallacy of appealing to the testimony of an authority outside his or her special field.
Very good. So 2 reasons why, really 2 in 1 reason. So it's a twin, right? Reasons why we call out a appeal to unqualified authority. Appealing illegitimately to an authority. You are doing an appeal to authority, but this is not a legitimate appeal. It's not an accurate one. It's not a correct appeal. Why? Because the person you are referencing to ground your claim may also be an authority, yes, but not in the field in question. We are all not masters of all trades, okay? So I may be a somewhat authority in, say, critical thinking, but not in theater art. I think I said that to my students, one of the other student groups. The theater artist, if there is any expression like that, can tell who is artistically sound when they are staging a drama or something. He can be in the audience and say, oh, this is a good actor. I wouldn't see anything. I'll just see a lot of people doing things that are making me happy. Okay, so I'm not an authority there. So if you appeal to me to ground something that is not in the field that I'm an expert in, it will be an illegitimate appeal to an authority, an expert. Okay? That's the whole thing. Nothing to brood over or stretch yourself too much over. Okay. So let's look at some examples in the slide. You can see that that is also a distraction. I divert your attention from the subject matter and point to the authority's clout. Meanwhile, his authority and his clout is in a specific field outside of which I'm now making a claim. Okay, Felicity, read the example one. Let's see if it can drive home the point.
It reads, our pastor says that prayer in public schools is not unconstitutional. Therefore, we must conclude that such prayer is perfectly legal.
See the problem with that? Let me get feedback from you. What is happening there? You are citing that as appeal to legitimate authority. Can I have reaction? Okay, so let's have reactions. I see Flossy's hand. Flossy, go ahead.
Oh, please, I have a question.
Okay, ask your question first then.
Please, are you projecting something?
Oh, yes, I think so. That is where Felicity is reading from.
Hey, please, I can't see it. So that's why I'm raising my hands
Okay,
up.
so I'm projecting. I'm projecting. Can anyone see? If you can see what is on my screen, just say yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, madam.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
So, Flossie, I'll stop sharing and reshare just in case you can pick it up this time. Okay, but we were sharing all this
Yes,
while.
please.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So, I was asking, anyone wants to react to the claim made by the pastor and the person appealing to that? No ill intention, but the pastor's expertise. Let me see if someone's hand is up. Okay, yeah, I see hands up. So let's take a second for Pabna. Pabna, go ahead. You want to react to why we would call the first
Yes.
example on our screen? Yeah, appeal to legitimate authority.
Yes, please. So the statement has to do with a legal issue.
Very
We
good.
are talking about prayer in public school being constitutional or unconstitutional, and then the pastor doesn't really have expertise in the legal field. Maybe a
Very
lawyer or a judge in the legal field.
That's the whole issue. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's succinct. So the point is that the pastor is an authority, but we are not told that he is acting in his capacity as a legal luminary. He could be a pastor and a lawyer. Then we wouldn't be calling the pastor in him to ground our claim. See that? We would have then said that, oh, my lawyer pastor says so and so and so. Then it is the lawyer in him that you are appealing to. That's a different matter. But if you just want to say because he's an authority that he will some spiritual, authority over you, is able to guide you spiritually, pray for you, lead you in counseling and what have you. So you appeal to him to ground a legal matter. That is what Kwabena said. I'm just talking plainly. Kwabena said it wholesale, no issues about what he said at all. Okay, if you do that, then we'll say you are appealing to an authority, yes, but that authority is an illegitimate one, and that is what makes it a fallacy. Felicity, read the second one. Let's see if it drives home the point. Then we are done. Then we can move on to the next.
It reads, Professor Ebenezer Odu, the highly respected Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana and Professor of Entomology, has recommended chloroquine for the treatment of coronavirus. And Professor Duru is also a learned scholar and a researcher. Therefore, chloroquine should be used to treat the coronavirus.
I think we see the same problem there. Thank you, my lady. The same challenge we have. An entomologist studies insects. You see, we are talking about chloroquine related to what? Human beings and treating malaria, not insects. So he is an authority. We respect him. He is a former vice chancellor of the University of Ghana. He would definitely have sat on chairs, have had a lot of exposure, etc., etc. Authority by expert all around. But our challenge is not for chloroquine matters. We don't appeal to him to ground the claim that we should therefore give chloroquine to so and so that COVID-19 will go. That is not his expertise. It's as simple as that. Okay. So you should be able to create fallacy that you would label as what? Appealing to illegitimate authority. On that note, go on. I'll call the next person now. Thank you, Felicity, to do it as the honest. I think I saw Shazia's hand as well. The other hands have gone down. So let Shazia reach us. Keep the hand up so that when I want to call the next person, I can call you. And then Claudia's hand is also gone up. Shazia, if you are ready, you can do the hasty generalization for us. That's another fallacy. Remember the categorizations. There were 3 groups. Okay, we are building on it now. Go ahead. Shazia there? If she's not able to immediately, then we can take Pamela Franching. All hands up. Keep them there. Don't worry. Pamela, go ahead.
Sorry.
Hasty generalization.
Hasty generalization.
Ish.
AKA
We have a clash.
AKA jumping to a conclusion.
Pamela, are you with someone else who is also listening from their own gadget and is close by? We are having feedback.
No, madam.
Okay, then mute one of something is giving us a feedback. I think it's better now. So go ahead.
Generalization, aka jumping to a conclusion. A
Very
hasty
good.
generalization is an inductive argument in which one makes a fallacious inference from a relatively small number of cases to a generalization about a class of instances. When few members of a group of people are or items are observed and their qualities are extended to the entire membership of the group.
Very good. This is straightforward. Can I have one of you explain that? Because I think it's straightforward, but I still want to hear it from a student class body. So let me take Samoso, what do you want to do as the next? Explain for us what you gathered from hasty generalization as a fallacy. What do you find wrong with hasty generalization? Or what will make us call out a reasoning as what? Hasty generalization. Emmanuel, Tevia, do that for us then.
Okay, so let's take an example like I have 4 Ghanaian friends, and then all my Ghanaian friends are tall. And so I go around saying that as for Ghanaian men, they are all tall from
Very
the
good.
4 people I know.
Excellent. As simple as that. I won't add anything to. Okay, so the examples should buttress the point that our friend did nicely. Yesterday, let's read them. Some are funny, and I enjoy I enjoy it when people read it out so that I can laugh about it. So let's take Charles Lynn now. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. It was good. Charles Lynn, read the first example. I think that John Michael can do the second one, and then Abna will do the third. Go ahead.
Hasty generalization examples. Example 1. Yesterday, 2 students were diagnosed as contracting the coronavirus. Today, 2 more were given the same diagnosis. It is obvious we have an epidemic. Everyone on campus has coronavirus.
You see, the person can be concerned, but this is the concerned gossip. After 2 instances, you see, I did the whole campus, everybody has got corona. What was her basis? 2 instances. Just like your friend nicely gave you an example. Okay, that's hasty generalization. They're moving from few instances. This insufficient evidence, a fallacy of weak induction, belongs to the second category we saw earlier. You don't have enough grounds to draw that conclusion if we were to work with the supposed evidence. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Let's take John Michael, then we can go to Abna. I think that was what I said. John, read the second one.
Example 2. The actress Jackie Appiah, the journalist Abeku Santana, and the influential man of God, Pastor Otabel, have all endorsed Mahama for president in the 2020 elections. I think that settles it. Every famous person intends to vote for Mahama.
So this one to from what the person claims. Let's grant it that it was even true that these 3 people had endorsed the former president then. This was 2020. These are old slides. I mean, the examples. We picked them from the news then. Suppose it were true that these 3 people supported the candidature of our ex-president then. Would you then think that we have justification to say that therefore every famous person, famous people, telling the Trump, they all support Mahama's candidature? No, that's hasty generalization, insufficient evidence. If you got that, then Abena can do the third one. Abena, read this one romantically. It's a lady. Go ahead. Okay. Is Abena there? You're muted. If Abena is busy, let's take. Abena, are you back? Okay, let me take.
I'm having connection issues, so I'm reading from your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Read. You can read from your own slide. I want a lady to read. I see hands up, but I want a lady. So take your time and read.
Okay, example 3. On our post-its, Richie has his hands all over me. I found it to keep him in his place. A week ago, John gave me that stupid line about how, in order to prove my love, I had to spend the night. Men are all alike. All anyone wants is sex.
Very good. You see that it's a typically ladies' line. That's why I want a lady to read it. Abner says, so it's not me, it's Abner that says, so I'm just quoting Abner. Abner says, on our first date, Richie had his hands all over me. And I found it nearly impossible to keep him in his place. The guy was in a high. Nana in a high. A week ago, John too gave Abner that stupid line about how, in order to prove her love, she had to spend the night with him. So look at Abner's conclusion. That's what creates the hasty generalization. She has very bad experiences with Richie and John when it comes to waiting and keeping themselves chaste until marriage. These two guys won't wait. And so Abner says, men are all alike. That's how men are. All any of them want is sex. But the pastor's son is not like that. Okay? The class rep is not like that. Jimmy is not like that. And Jeremy is not like that. And Emmanuel is not like that, perhaps. Okay. So the point we are making is when you draw your conclusion from your experiences with Richie and John, which are true from what you say, they are true, but it doesn't warrant that overly general conclusion you are drawing. If you got that, then I think you have a good ground and you understand hasty generalization. So I'm ready to introduce the next fallacy that looks like hasty generalization. I want you to take note. It is almost like hasty generalization, except for some additional, quality that this one has. When I say quality, not necessarily in the positive sense, there is something else that misplaced vividness has, apart from being insufficient in its evidence. Okay, for misplaced vividness, not only is the evidence insufficient, but the conclusion the person is drawing is as a result of an emotional impact that those few instances had on her or him or on him. Something dramatic about those insufficient evidence. So if we were talking about the two that we just saw, something that was extremely, dramatic happened with those few instances, and that is why the person is now over generalized. So the emotional impact is what influences the extreme generalization. Okay, for instance, he says, look at Anne and Bill on your screen now, please, respectfully. I'm giving up, this is Anne speaking to Bill. I'm giving up extreme sports now that I have children. I think I'll take up golf. Then Bill says, I wouldn't do that. Do you remember Charles? He was playing golf when he got hit by a golf cart. It broke his leg and he fell over, giving himself a concussion. He was in hospital for a week and still walks with a limp. I will stick to paragliding. So in other words, I will not do golf. Why won't I do golf? Or why shouldn't we do golf? You say, oh, because of what happened to Charles. So the the evidence is not sufficient. Charles alone, what about the 1,001 people who have played golf the whole year and still counted? That nothing happened to. Okay. But you draw a conclusion from that one instance about Charles, which is insufficient, okay, but not just insufficient, it has a whole drama around it, some emotional something around it. Look at the guy is now walking on a limb. And it was because a golf cart hit it. But he could have been hit by a tennis bat as well, or a tree. So what has it got to do necessarily with playing golf? For which reason you say, "Media, I'm not going near golf. Oh, I'll stick to paragliding." Which one is safer? Okay, so that it is a misplaced emphasis, misplaced vividness. Okay, it's not about the golf playing per se. You can advocate for caution. You know, when people started complaining about domestic violence, recent times when the Nigerian musician of blessed memory, Ekwueme, that woman was saying, Ekwueme, I mean, was news on the internet. Supposedly, you know, was battered at home and stuff like that. She had experienced domestic violence and all. So a lot of women groups, churches, and you know, societies were a bit vocal about marriages and what domestic violence and whatever. But imagine in such a scenario, a certain single career woman, quote and unquote, gender activist, you know, feminist, in quotes, you know, comes out and says, "This is the reason why I don't think marriage is anything to enter into." She's referencing the scenario, the issue that has happened, unpleasant as it is. If it were true that the man turned the wife's face and body to a punching bag, you know, that is a very how can I be charitable with a man without hey, that is animalistic, you know. So we can all agree that it is not something that should be done if it had been done at all. I'm very conscious of hearsays and you know reporting. But the point is, even though we are not happy with that, the conclusion, this gender, feminist, whatever, I'm using all those words advisedly, for people use them and they just bring their trouble to come and mix up with those who genuinely are advocating for something legitimate. So I said that a supposed gender activist or you know whatever activist could say that that is why marriage is not a thing that any woman should enter into. The conclusion from one battered home, a person in a home, granted it were true, you conclude that so marriage is not anything that a woman should enter into. This is misplaced vividness. It's not about marriage. It's about personalities. Because people have entered marriages and they are doing fine. Thousands of them, millions, if you like. One marriage a woman entered into may have changed their whole home, spiritually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, in terms of clout. If you were the first lady of so and so person, or you were married by the Prince Charles or Prince whatever, by marriage, your children become royals and you inherit if you want to. We have evidence. Okay. So if someone says because of the domestic violence that has been that cited instance, we say we don't even know if that is exactly the case. But let's grant it that it were the case. You then conclude therefore that marriage is not a thing to end. It's a misplaced emphasis. One, the evidence is not sufficient. Two, you are drawing that overly generalized conclusion because of an impact, oftentimes emotional one, that is driving your either rejection or acceptance of it. Sometimes it is positive. Look at this one. I think Anne and Bill and Jane, especially Bill, is a coconut person. He's a gossip. See what is happening in example. He says, this is Jane speaking. I've been thinking about getting a new laptop. Then Bill comes in. What sort of laptop do you want to get? Jane says, well, it has to be easy to use, have a low price, and have decent, what's the thing? Please take another. Processing power. I've been thinking about getting an RLG laptop. This Jane suggested. I read in that consumer magazine that they have been found to be very reliable in 6 independent industry studies. Look at this, sister. suggesting that she's looking for an RLG laptop. Think of any laptop that you can connect to. RLG was the dawn then in our Ghanaian setting. You can think Apple or something. Then the person comes, Bill says, I wouldn't get that RLG laptop. So what are his reasons? A friend of mine bought one a month ago to finish his master's thesis. He was halfway through it when smoke started pouring out of the CP. He didn't get his thesis done on time and he lost his financial aid. Now he's selling bullfruit on the street. Bullfruit is buffalo, eh? But we say bullfruit as a slang. Look at the whole drama around this guy's reasons why he thinks RLG is not the laptop to go get. One instance, sometimes two, sometimes three, but one instance associated with certain emotional impact. The emotions so far, the ones I've done with you are negative. Because his friend bought that and it started pouring smoke. And because of that, the friend didn't finish because he lost his financial support or whatever. And now that friend is selling food on the street. A master's student. If I look at what happened to that man, immediately if I see RLG laptop at the north side, I'll pass out. That's his argument. Look at GM2 on Critical. Hey, I guess I won't go with the RLG laptop. I've spoiled RLG people's market, just like that. Now, this is a misplaced emphasis. Could it be that our brother didn't plug the thing, didn't use the right adapter? Could it be that there was power outage then? So doomsaw, off and on and off, then it went off. Could it be there are 1,001 reasons why that laptop could have gone bad? And that's why there's warranty. That's why there's warranty. Thousands of importations of those laptops were done and assembled here. What happened to the others? They all went to blast. And all the people after the thing blasted started selling bullfruit on the street and lost their financial support. You see, so the person is being unnecessarily overly general from that one instance. And what is the reason? Because of the impact emotionally that came from that one instance. So it is like hasty generalization, but it is what? A higher version of it because of the connection with emotion. We call it misplaced vividness. It's a third example. That's a good one. It is the emotion is a positive emotion, saying that, oh, I read the side of the cigarette pack about smoking being harmful to your health. This is good for you guys. That's the Surgeon General's opinion, him and all his statistics. But let me tell you about my uncle. This is the speaker now. Uncle Sam has smoked cigarettes for 40 years now, and he's still never been sick a day in his life. He even won the Milo Marathon in his age group last year. You should have seen him running from Tema to Dansoma. He smoked a cigarette during the award ceremony, and he had a broad smile on his face. I was really proud. I can still remember the cheering. Cigarette smoking can't be as harmful as people say. Oh, because of one instance, this is the positive impact, the positive emotion around Uncle Sam and his smoking. So you conclude that cigarette smoking can't be as harmful as people say after all. From one instance, you want to throw out what the Surgeon General's opinion is and all his statistics, which will show several other people being harmed by consistent, prolonged smoking. You see that? That's the whole point about misplaced evidence. So I call it the senior brother of hasty generalization. So it's hasty generalization with an impact associated with it, an emotional impact of sorts. Any question? Is there any question? Okay, very good. I have a full class. I've checked the full class. Well done. We finished well. Let's have one of you read now for me. Okay, Felicity, it's a question. If it's a question, go ahead.
Yes, for the hasty generalization, I thought of an example, but I was not sure if it's correct.
Go ahead, ask me.
I was like, yesterday you broke a plate. This morning you also broke a cup. Last week you broke your phone. You are always breaking things.
Yeah, the hasty generalization. Are you saying that the person doesn't even sleep at all? Even when he's sleeping, he's breaking things. So that's the problem. You are generalizing in a haste, especially if you say, so anytime we give you something, you will break it. That's hasty generalization. All right, let's have a reader now. So I can take, that was Pamela who read, thank you. And John Michael answered the question earlier. So let's take Priscilla Boateng. Priscilla, go ahead. Hey,
Hello,
some people have
madam.
never read in class, so let me hear you. Abna, I'm sorry, it's not Abna. Abna talks a lot in class. Eben, Ama Eben, you have not read from you. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't remember hearing you in class. Boka, I've not heard you in class. It's not good. I put marks down for a U class participation. Okay, Katrina C, same here. Okay, Katrina C, the name sounds familiar. Okay, so let's take my lady, Priscilla, read for me. Priscilla, go ahead.
Genetic fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
When the origin, source of a conclusion, claim, or idea is used as basis for accepting or rejecting the conclusion or claim or idea. Attempts to discredit or support a claim or an argument because of its origin, bracket, when such an appeal to origins is irrelevant, it fails to assess the claim on its merit or within its current context or meaning.
Very good. Can you explain? Can anyone explain that for us, please? I know you understand, but I still want to hear it. So let me take one or two of you. Who wants to explain that? Genetic fallacy. You've seen it. I keep talking about when we did causal fallacy. We saw it, if you recall that. We did post hoc, ego propter hoc, and co. Should I call John again? Or someone else wants to try? Before the end marks, I reward class participation. So if the hands are up and I couldn't call them, then I make a note of it. I make a note of all the hands that were up and I continue because it has been answered, but they wanted to. That's how I run my class. Let's take a safe for another. Catherine, be on standby for the next question. Abra, go ahead.
Okay, so a certain claim is made, and then instead of addressing like other reasons for accepting or rejecting the claim, use maybe the person relating to the person, maybe where the person comes from, something the person has done, and then you use it as a means of rejecting or like supporting the. So an example, someone is from America, maybe America is known for the technological advancement. So you're like, oh, because the person is from America, what the person says pertaining to a certain issue is true.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So the whole point is like your friend just said, you are just accepting or rejecting because of the origin. That's all, where the thing is coming from. You are not questioning its durability. You are not checking whether it meets the standards. You are not checking whether it is conducive to asserting politically, whatever, climatically, what have you. If it is from China, Padia, then it is not a good product, finished. When you reason that way, you have a problem, a big one. You will import wholesale a political system, for example, that doesn't thrive in our setting. Our here referring to say a communal setting, where even if people are wrong, they are conscious of the other person's view because that person is considered family. I am because we are, since we are, therefore I am. So the ballot box cannot make that decision easily. You see, but for another setting, the cultural understanding and the nuances are such that I don't feel hurt if I talk my government, me and myself and I, because that's how you are oriented. So you can use the ballot box to make decisions easily or majority rule, and there won't be so much challenge like if you were doing that same thing in a setting that is oriented towards we. Okay, so you can reflect and see, for instance, why there are so many coup d'etats. in a certain part of the world. Not like they don't rule them, but there aren't schools for kingdoms. That the king is sitting on a throne and someone has overthrown him and taken over his seat. In which African setting? Can you hear that? I want us to understand. So sometimes the product, the policy, the idea may be very good and thrive well where you are getting it from. But if you just say, because I'm getting it from here, 90, it is okay, yeah, you have a big problem. And that is the whole thing. I just put some flesh to it for its usefulness. This legal system here, if you still cut off your hand. I mean, imagine, how do you import that wholesale? When here it's okay to walk through someone's farm and pluck some bananas and eat it, so far as you are not taking it out, it's not a big deal. In fact, we look out for that. So even when you weed, you leave some of that. When you harvest, you leave some. Intentionally, so because someone may come at night, a hunter may pass by and you need something to eat. So it is not free. You want us to cut hands. Okay, the whole point then is you don't accept or reject just because of the source. A critical mind interrogates. You reflect on quality, okay, like usefulness, contextualization, the particular nuance, and then you
Hello,
make the
madam.
decision. Yes, sir. It's a question, eh?
Yeah, please. I was trying to raise my hand, but like the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
person is
No
not
problem.
listening.
We are not a big class. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. I was going to ask that if the genetic fallacies from a person, like let's say the person making the arguments, can it also be considered ad hominem?
Yes, it could be ad hominem. Very good. It could be ad hominem, either
Okay.
eulogistic or dyslogistic. Yes. So you are
Okay.
very
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
It could even be illegitimate appeal to authority, depending on how the person is speaking. So
Okay. Thank
it's
you.
good that you are thinking that. Very good. Yes.
Yes, please. Bye.
All right.
Please, a
That's why
question.
normally when I ask a question like that, just a minute, Felicity. When I ask a question, I'll ask you why. So I can say, what fallacy or fallacies do you detect in this passage and why? So someone will say, I think I see an appeal to the genesis. So it is a genetic fallacy. The person is accepting the view because of its source. Correct. The same passage, another person say, I think that there is an ad hominem, maybe a dyslogistic one or a eulogistic one, because they are talking about circumstances about person who comes from so and so and so. Okay, so you are both right. Just as if it was a medical doctor and they did the diagnosis, one doctor might say, I think that the guy has constipation, and that is why he's having headache. Another person says, I think that I see jaundice. You may not be disagreeing. You just detected different things. The third person, she's pregnant. That's why she's vomiting plates and having headache and constipation. Do you fight yourselves? No. You just check. It might just be a verbal dispute about the subjective matter. Okay, so it can happen that way. So, Felicity, ask your question.
Oh, yes, please. I was the question with that obvious as it can be an appeal to unqualified authority.
I think I answered that also, right? Yes, it can be. Or you are referencing another question. That's what I
No,
meant.
I'm asking how.
Oh, yes, it depends. If I put it together, you see, if I'm saying that I think we should accept this new vaccine for COVID-19 because it was given to us by the World Health Organization. That one is a qualified authority. So you see that we don't have an issue. Okay. But if I use an authority like it was prescribed by the world, the football, boxing people, what do they call it? Those boxing tournaments. What's the name? WBC. I've not watched it for a while. Or wrestling.
WWE.
Thank you, madam. So WWE, whatever folks sanctioned this vaccine for COVID-19. Therefore, okay, so that would have been an illegitimate appeal to authority. Thank you. But you see that we're looking at the source and yet it was appealing legitimately. So that is an example of what I mean by one passage could be committing illegitimate appeal and still also be genetic.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. Felicity, please, are you okay?
Yes, please.
All right. Let me take the
Hello.
next question. I think someone else has a concern.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yes, only
sir.
one question.
No problem. Go ahead.
Okay, madam, please, when we're doing the appeal to authority,
Yes.
yeah, like let's say there's a controversial topic and
Yes.
there are like several aspects on the topic and like they're all saying maybe opposing stuff. And I quote one of the people, one of the experts. But you see, he's an expert, but even though he's holding an opposing opinion, will I be right if I use like his view to like claim something like for an argument? So like, will I be
Okay. So
right?
okay. So what we are discussing now is appealing to illegitimate authority. See, you are appealing to an authority that is not legitimate. It's not legitimate means he is not an expert in the discussion. He doesn't have the expertise. But it doesn't mean every expert in a field should agree on one thing. No. This is academia. Okay. So we can disagree even as experts on how we think we should do CS, cesarean section. Okay. Some may say, I think you should cut it around the navel area because that's one is another person, I think no, it should be at the abdomen. Some may even say we should cut it from the back. Now the point is, if the people speaking are all what is the thing? If people do that, gynecologists, I don't know. Then there is no illegitimate appeal to authority there. No, it's an authority in the field in question who disagrees with another authority. They are all deliberating. It's like football. Sometimes a goal is called and people say, oh, this one should have been offside. Another person, no, but it was so close to the net. If we went to the thing there, the camera, they would have showed us a different angle. So the two personalities at the studio, whatever, are discussing the goal and they are disagreeing, but they are both experts, former referees, FIFA referees, or even currently FIFA referees, and they are speaking to the matter and disagreeing, and yet they are both experts. That is not an illegitimate appeal to authority because we are talking football and it's refereeing, and the two people seated there are referees, but they have
Hello,
different
madam.
points of views. I'm coming. They have different points of views about what they saw. Okay, that's different from where you go and appeal to maybe Ghana's Lewin, who is more of an actor and now businessman of a kind, and a comedian and a dancer. Ghana's Lewin. Then you say because Lewin says the ball we watched was a goal, therefore it is a goal. He's not an expert in football. That's not his expertise. So we will say it's an illegitimate appeal to authority. Okay. Now I think there was a follow-up, so go ahead.
Yeah, like I was trying to say, like if I use one of the aspects who are like opposing, if I use his opinion as facts and like I establish an argument from that, would that be a fallacy or like that's like
You said
technically correct?
if you use his opinion as fact, you're not talking opinions here.
No,
See?
I mean like if I am trying to appeal to authority and I'm not committing the fallacy of illegitimate authority because a person actually knows what the person is doing. But like since there are many opposing people, like if I use only his view as the like premise for my argument, will my arguments will be valid or will be fallacious?
It depends on what you're appealing to. Are you appealing to his opinion or a fact? We may all be a meteorologist. I have done my research. I have looked into the humidity and the sea waves and the whatever, and then I tell you from my calculation of this and that, it looks like it will rain tomorrow morning between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. You also, an expert like myself, a meteorologist, engages the same, observation in the air in Ghana here, check everything. So you think that it won't be between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. I think it can go between 11 and 12. These are not opinions with length level topic one. They are factually verifiable statements. So we are disagreeing, but what makes us both our views about the matter, a factual matter is because we are experts. So I'm a meteorologist, just like the other person. Therefore, if you appeal to me to discredit the other person, you haven't appealed to an illegitimate authority. That's the point I'm making. Okay. If you appeal to the other person to discredit you have not appealed to an illegitimate authority. These are still authorities
yes,
disagreeing. will become illegitimate when you appeal to someone who doesn't have expertise in what we are discussing or doesn't have the relevant, working tools, like a medical doctor in Ghana. Apologies, my Ghanaian doctors. You may not have all the required machinery and systems and techniques to determine whether you can revive someone who died 30 minutes ago. And so if another authority in your field, somewhere outside of Ghana, possibly tells you that the guy died 30 minutes, but we're able to resuscitate him, not resuscitate, resurrect him, so to speak, by a new technology that does so and so and so. And you say, no, that cannot happen. This is information that you don't have. Okay? So I am appealing to a higher authority than yourself, but you are both authorities. So you cannot criticize the one who is making the appeal as appealing to an illegitimate authority. No. The authority is legitimate. The only thing is that you can point out an error in what that authority is doing. That one, there is no news. Authorities fail all the time and they improve. We learned the methodology of the science. Don't know if that helps.
So please, a question.
Go ahead.
In that case, it wouldn't be an informal fallacy.
It is.
Which one is it then?
It is an informal fallacy. That's what I said. It is.
Please, which one?
Which one did you ask?
As in, which fallacy is it?
It is an informal fallacy. Are you asking what are you asking about?
Yes, which type of informal fallacy? Sorry.
We have been dealing with appeal to unqualified authority, which we call the illegitimate appeal to authority. Is that the question you are asking? Or where you are appealing to another authority in the field who disagrees with the main authority?
Yes, the second one.
And it's not, when you appeal to an authority, it's not a fallacy. Who should we appeal to? You see that? We need the authorities, no matter how flawed they are. That's why when we have an issue with the weather, we'll call the meteorologist. If we want to check our heart, we'll go to the heart surgeon to do it. Even though we know that their procedures could fail. The plastic surgeon is the one who will do so and so. The pediatrician will take care of so and so. The midwife will help us, or the gynecologist will take care of. So, and so we rely on the expertise of authorities, even though we know that it could be flawed or it could go back. No problem about that. It becomes a fallacy when you are reasoning and appealing to some authority outside of where we are discussing. That is when we call out the fallacy bit. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Madam.
Go ahead, sir.
Madam. Yeah, like, so let's say a situation where a person dies and maybe two equally qualified doctors are, and one is saying that a person died from maybe heart attack, and the other person is saying a person died from maybe malaria.
You understand equally, hold on. You understand equally qualified?
Yeah,
on what
like they have the same degrees.
But it's not degree that, hold on, calm down. It's not degrees that qualify people. I completed school with my colleagues. You know, every one of them that, you see that, we all have the degree. Some might even be better than others. What we say, you see, some practice. So you may all be physicians, maybe even all of you gynecologists, but because of where one person practices, he or she has expertise in, say, Black folks and their delivery than white folks. Because of the what is that thing? Melanin? Because of the melanin and then the capacity of pushing babies out and what have you compared to the other one. So when we say an unqualified authority, the person must be totally outside of that frame, not degrees.
No,
okay,
like,
that's the whole thing.
My question, like in a scenario where like they are both equally qualified.
Go ahead then.
So like if they are both equally qualified, and one person is saying that like it's caused by the death was caused by heart attack, and another person is saying it was malaria or something. Like
what is your question? What is your question then?
I'm saying that like, so if I use maybe the first doctor's diagnosis of this thing like as a basis for an argument,
Are
will
they
I be
all
committing a
doctors?
fallacy?
Are they all
Yes,
doctors?
please. Yeah. Yes, please. They are
So
all
where
doctors.
is the illegitimate authority issue? They are all
No,
authorities.
I'm saying that now. I'm not asking about
Uh-huh.
illegitimate
So
fallacy.
you
I'm
have
asking
another
about
question altogether. Mhm.
yes, please. So
Go
like
ahead.
if they both say different things, and I
Yeah.
use one person's like one person's diagnosis as the
Yeah.
basis for like another argument, will I be
Yeah.
committing a fallacy or like I'll still
Which
be
fallacy?
valid?
You would, if you ask me, oh, will I be committing X fallacy or Y fallacy? Because they are all authorities. That's what I explained to Felicity. You can't say that because the two authorities disagree. So if I appeal to one of them, I've committed a certain fallacy. Which one will it be? If you say appeal to authority is a fallacy, that is not a fallacy. In the sense that we depend on our authorities, knowing very well that they could be flawed. Look at the heliocentric view. You see that we have referenced in the past. It was given by the geocentric view. It is coming from authorities in the field of astronomy, science. Even when the others were saying, look, we think that it's rather the earth that goes around the sun. Some died, were killed out of that because they felt that was blasphemy. Man is in the center of God's creation and man is on earth. So everything else must revolve around the earth. So if you come and say the earth rather is revolving around something else, you are blaspheming. The position and direction of prayer were all situated around that. People died for trying to say, can we have a second look at it? Because there was an authority. That's another authority. You see? So I use that to show you that authorities fail all the time. Sickle cell anemic patients, for instance, they say will die at so and so age. And now we know that it is not necessarily the case. If you had X, Y, or Z, taking your colleagues, doing your greens, avoiding cold weather, whatever. Some can even extract the whole blood, we are told, out of their system and then do a genetic engineering of a kind or whatever. The point I'm making is so the disagreement between two experts is not necessarily connected to when you appeal to one to ground your claim, you haven't committed a fallacy called hasty, unqualified authority. You haven't. Neither should we say that you have appealed to an authority, so you have erred. It's an authority. Who is right and who is wrong? That's why I asked, when you say they are equally qualified, on what basis do you say that? It's an assumption you make. It could be that one is not as qualified as the other, or they both have the degree, but their practicing is different, or even the tests they have conducted so far based on the available technology they have are different. That is if they have contrasting positions. But the fact that they diagnose one's disease differently doesn't mean they are disagreeing. They might just be looking at the same issue differently. I may be looking at the psychology of it and be saying that, look, these people don't need medicine. They just need a time away. They will deliver. The lady will grow hormones that will be receptive to sperms and they will have a child. Another doctor may say, no, I think that they have to take the medicine immediately. So give them so and so and so medication. If you ask the home, traditionalists, you say, no, these hospital medicines are the reason why the lady is not conceiving. Bring her home to the mountains. I'll take care of her. And give me 3 months, she will conceive. So the whole point I'm making is if the two, like your scenario suggests, are equally authorities in the field and they diagnose or they proffer different responses to a supposed issue, and you appeal to one of them to ground your claim, you haven't appealed to an illegitimate authority. He or she is still an authority, and you haven't committed a fallacy that I can immediately think of, unless you want to point out, no, could it be this? Then we can diagnose it together. That's the point I'm making. I hope that helps.
Yes, please.
Can you hear
Thank
me,
you.
please? All right. Thank you so much. So let's do the last two left. So you see the genetic fallacies, there are quite a number of them. The phone you are using was manufactured in China, so it must be a fake one. Really? That's genetic fallacy. You shouldn't conclude that necessarily. Of course, you too, if every day your products are labeled as fake, you have to look out for something that perhaps you're not doing right. Okay. Then the next one says, the new undergraduate system is a copy of the Americans' university system. So it must be an improvement over what we had before. It might not be. And that doesn't mean the American one may not be good. It may be good, but suited for the kind of system run there. That's why it's thriving. You go and import it wholesale, your people can't even have trotro to get to the school. The American system may be working because the people get up, they walk to the train station, it's timed. The time to get into the bus doesn't fail. You see that? The traffic is coordinated. As soon as a car breaks down the road, within minutes, it has been, moved off. Traffic is flowing again. Do we have the same conditions here? So that's maybe the issue we are prompting, not so much say like you have an issue with where the America or whatever that is coming from. But you want to be minded how you think the source is enough to ground the legitimacy of that claim. That's all that we are trying to put across. Okay. Then example 3 says you are not going to wear a wedding ring, are you? Don't you know that the wedding ring originally symbolized ankle chains worn by women to prevent them from running away from their husbands? I would not have thought you would be a party to such a sexist practice. The origin, but it could change. Sometimes people say, oh, this guy comes from so and so place, so he will be so and so and so and so. And all those are instances of genetic fallacies. Like we said, more examples for you to look at. Then, last but one, pseudo precision. Let me have one of you read that. Unless there's a question. I see Flossie's hand and Timacom's hand. So I'll call Flossie first. Then Tim, be on standby. You read that for us. The next one for us. Okay. Hey Irene, where did you go to? I've seen your hand up now. Go ahead, Flossie. Who's reading, please? Timacom.
Madam.
Yes.
Madam, please, can you see my hand up?
Yes, Flossie, I can see your hand up.
Okay, I was just checking.
Yes. Your hand is up. I see 5 hands up. Who is reading for me? Timacom.
Madam, pseudo precision, aka over precision, false precision, misplaced precision, mathematical age, mystification. Exact statistical figures are used to characterize notions that cannot be expressed in exact or numerical terms. The application of figures to indicate precise quantities where, to date, no measurement can be feasibly expected. This is often done to or impress people with numbers.
All right, so let's look at apologies, I had to take something before I paint. All right, so I was saying that if you look at what your friend read, the word pseudo we have encountered, pseudo precision, pretending to be precise. We are calling out a fallacy that is committed because the person is pretending to be exact, precise about a concept that cannot be precise. The precision means exactness. That concept cannot have that kind of precision. Because of its nature, it is intentionally vague. We learned ambiguity, equivocation, vagueness in Unit 3, Topic 3. We said a vague statement, like if I say, behold, I am coming soon. The soon is used intentionally vague. So you don't know when the man is coming. So you can pretend, you can quickly go and clean up your mess and say that, oh, I've been holy all this while. No. Behold, I come soon. That's vague. When you speak metaphorically, Elwin is so and so and so. I wanted to say it's a flower. You are not saying that when you go to the back of the house, they can block it. No. You are saying something. You are being symbolic. Okay. So when we are vague, it could be intentionally so for a reason. But vagueness then suggests that the term there is open-ended. It can mean several things. It's extremely general that when you pretend to be precise about it, you create a problem. So pseudo precision hovers around that, pretending to be precise about a concept that does not lend itself to precision in the way you are arguing. And you use mathematical figures to give a sense of what? Precision, a sense of exactness in your argumentation. When the issue we are discussing is actually not precise because of the concepts we are using. They are open-ended concepts. Look at the example. In a recent 2-year survey, 75.38% of students at University of Ghana were discovered to be, you see that as soon as you saw 75.38%, that's exactness. It's statistically exact, 75.38%. You would think that we are going to measure weight or height, etc. of students, so that you say, oh, when we finished this 2-year survey, we realized that about 75.38% of Legon students were taller than 6 feet. That's measurable. That can be precise. You can check it easily, objectively. It has an exact end and clarity about what you mean when we say 75.38% of Legon students measured 6 feet. That is measurable. You see that? But this person quotes the figure, supposing to be precise. See that? But he says, what is that precision about? 75.38% of Legon students were discovered to be spiritually motivated. That is the problem. How do you measure spiritual motivation? To attain a specificity, 75.38%. Their actions are motivated by the spiritual. How? In how they are giving, or when they come to class, they sit quietly. Oh, they sit, but the brother is sitting quietly because Sister Adjoa is there. And he's trying to con her. So he has to present himself. What is the spirituality in it? Necessarily. Spiritually motivated is open-ended. There are 1,001 reasons why, for example, people come to church or go to the mosque. Fine, Sister B is there. And he's waiting to con her. Or someone who wants a political, following. So he comes to the big mosque there and sits there. You say, oh, his actions are spiritually motivated. How do you measure an action that is motivated by the spiritual? That's the point. So the thing is not measurable already. It's not clear, it's vague, it's unspecific. Then you say you have done a research, and after your research, your findings show that 75.38% of Legon students were discovered to be spiritually motivated. We have a problem. And the problem is, we will tell you, boss, slow down with your 75.38. We are not impressed at all. We are not those who are scared by figures. And then everybody is out into silence when they see supposed exactness. No, we are not. Because the issue you say you have done a research on and arrived at this figure, that concept is not measurable. So how did you measure? What was your measuring standard for spiritual motivation? And who says that that is what spiritual motivation necessarily is? Height wouldn't have been in contention. But this one, it depends. It's vague, it's open-ended. And so we'll call this reasoning out as for being pseudo-precise. We get this a lot with those who do statistics-oriented, research. When I say that, you should understand. So before long, HIV has done this, COVID-19 has done that. Inflation has gone up because 60.66% of women and domestic violence has gone to because, and when you go and check sometimes as a critical mind, you have to look out for what it is that is being qualified as what? 75.38%. It is just mad bullying. You are being bullied by the figure. And you have to Forget about the figure and critique. Some more examples there for you. Closely related to pseudo-precision is semi-attached figure, which is also a data-oriented fallacy. Look at the name, semi-attached figure. Here, we don't have a problem necessarily with the vagueness of the concept, no. Our problem is with the evidence carrying that figure. Even if we accepted the whole evidence to be true, the conclusion we are drawing is not necessarily connected to it. So it can be true, look on my screen now, please. I'm showing semi-attached figure. It can be true that 99% of germs in your test tube were killed by my sanitizer that I brought. That tested my sanitizer at the lab to see its efficacy and then grant me the license to operate it and sell it. Let's say this Food and Drugs Authority or something. So I brought you hand sanitizer, okay? And then in your test, you put it in the test tube and it killed the sample germs there. 99.9% of those germs that were put in the test tube died instantly. So you are giving me the license to operate and sell that hand sanitizer. Now, in my advertisement, after I've received the license, I go and say that 99% of germs die when you wash or you rub my sanitizer on your hand. 99.9% of germs. Therefore, COVID-19 too. You see what is happening? COVID-19 viruses will die when you use this product. That is the problem. It's true that 99% of germs died when you use that sanitizer. But your conclusion that therefore COVID-19 viruses will also die is a problem. Premises are true. The conclusion you are drawing doesn't necessarily follow. But we are talking about something else. I've shifted from germs, which may be any germ at all, 99% of them, not the same as what? COVID-19 virus. So people will go and buy this 99.9%. Just a minute, I'll take all the questions. I want to finish. Okay, the question, right? Is it a question?
Yes.
I thought you can't hear. If it's a question, I'm finished. I'll take all your questions and mop them up. Okay, this is the last one. So the premises are true. 99% of germs died when my product was applied to those germs in the test tube. Therefore, I conclude COVID-19 virus is in trouble. And I said, you have to be a critical mind to ask the question. It's fine that 99% of the germs died, but did it include COVID-19 virus? Before you go buying that product, just because you saw that it killed 99% of germs, because it might not necessarily mean that it will kill COVID-19 viruses. Here, the figure, the 99%, which will intrigue you, which will make you go and buy, is partially attached. It's not fully attached to the conclusion being drawn, okay? It is true insofar as you are talking about other germs. So it is a partial attached. That's why we say it's semi-attached figure. Not fully attached to the conclusion. What is the conclusion? Oh, then COVID-19 virus will die when you apply this hand sanitizer to your hand. That is why we say you are playing on the figure to give us a premise that even if it were true, doesn't lead us to the conclusion you want to draw. The conclusion is not relevant to the premises given, or vice versa. The premises are not relevant to the conclusion you are drawing. The figure in that premise is true, yes. True for the premise, but it doesn't lead us to the conclusion. So the figure is partially attached, not fully attached. I'll take your questions now. Whose hand was up first? Are all the hands up for questions? I see Princess Alabi, I see Shafao, and I see Flossie. Are they for questions or you wanted to read?
These questions.
Go ahead, Princess dear.
Please, the slide before this,
the one talking about the 75%, and then the conclusion being so 3/4 of the people, something. Please, isn't the conclusion true? So how is it a fallacy?
Which conclusion is true? Can you measure spiritual motivation? My dear princess.
Please, can you go back to the slide?
I've gone back.
No. Before this.
Can anyone see my pseudo precision slide?
Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
Princess,
please.
So check your network. Okay. I've gone back there. I'm saying that, can you measure spiritual motivation? When people act and you say their action was motivated by the spiritual, how do you measure that? We can measure height too. Whether you are the devil or a demon or president or the poorest person, height is measurable objectively. So if we go and measure the height of students at Legon, we can arrive at a conclusion that no one can say that that is pseudo precision. No. The figure will be clearly measurable and exact. This is my point. If you test BP at the OPD, it is a measurable issue. So you can measure after testing, you can tell the physician in the consulting room that the lady's BP, systolic, and whatever are so bad. You can check her weight and say she may likely be obese. Those diagnoses the doctor will make, but you can produce the facts. You see, that's the point we are making. What you see on your screen, I hope you do now, example 1, my lady, is qualifying a concept that is not measurable. Exactly. Because of the concept we are dealing with a vague concept. Spiritually motivated. How do you measure that? What standard will you use?
Please, I thought we were measuring the people, like the students who are. I thought we were measuring
read the passage from the beginning. Read the passage.
In a recent 2-year survey, 75.38% of students at University of Ghana were discovered to be spiritually motivated.
So what are we measuring? Hold on, it's okay. What are we measuring, my lady?
This is not the students.
Students who have done what? That's why I asked you to read, my dear. You read it. So students who have done what? Did he measure all students of Lagos? Look at it.
Students who are spiritually motivated.
So how did they pick? That's the point. How do you pick out students who are spiritually motivated and measure them and count and bring this data? That's the whole issue, which a critical mind must see. Is it because of how they are dressed? My lady, are you following?
Yes, please.
That's the issue. Is it because they give a lot? What? How do you measure? We can go on and on and on. Vagueness. Revise your vague, when we diagnose a statement for ambiguity, equivocation, and vagueness. That's what it's vague. How do you determine? It's indeterminate. It's not specified. So we are not just measuring students. That one you can count. We are measuring a supposed specific type of student. Student that belong to a certain categorization. What is the category? I say those who are spiritually motivated. How did you gather those who are spiritually motivated to know that they were 75.38%? How? What did you use to look out for that? So the concept is what we are critiquing. And we are telling you that when they put the 75.38, you think that that's 3/4. Well, 3/4 of what is the issue? That's why it's a pseudo precision. We are trying to be precise about something that doesn't lend itself to precision. That's the query. I hope that helps, Princess, now. Princess, is it better now, please?
Yes,
You
please.
are
Thank
muted.
you.
Okay, welcome. Now I will take, I think there are two other hands. Flossy's hand is up and Abine's hand is up. I don't know if they have questions. I take them. If not, we are done. Flossy, is there a question, please? Your hand is up. Yay, Flossy, you are muted and your hand is up.
Please, my hand was up to read.
To
Maybe the
read, very
beginning.
good. Okay, yes, yes, to read. So I'll lower it down. No
It's
problem.
fine.
I'll lower it for you now. Now, Abina, your hand is also up. I don't want to brush away a question. It might be a legitimate one bothering someone. Yes, my lady.
Sorry, but I don't really get the second example.
Which one? Don't worry,
The
tell me
second
which one.
example.
On the screen
Yes, please.
for pseudo precision, right?
Like how
Okay.
it's pseudo
Yeah, so it's still a
precision.
play on figures. You see, let's read what pseudo precision says. It says what? It is called over precision. You can call it false precision. You can call it misplaced precision. You can call it mathematical mystification. You're using the math to mystify us. You're using the math to scare us. As soon as we hear the mathematical figures, then we cow. We don't ask any questions again. And so all these are ways of detecting what we have called pseudo precision, pretending to be precise. Look at the second point on my screen currently. The application of figures to indicate precise quantities where up to date, no measurement can be feasibly expected. You see, we don't measure it. That's what's happening in the second example. A tall guy at a museum says a dinosaur skeleton is exactly, look at the number of years. I don't even know how to put that. 100 million and 5 years old. Because, see the reason, an expert told him that it was 100 million years old when he started working there 5 years ago. The point we are making with this one is, point 2, see, the person is applying figures to suggest a certain kind of precision about something, quantities, where up to date, up to now, you can't have the means of even measuring, and you can't feasibly expect to have any means to measure that. What is the measurement? 100 million years ago, dinosaurs did what? A dinosaur skeleton is exactly 100 million years ago. Excuse me, 100 million years old. And he, the person speaking, has added 5 years because the expert told him that 5 years ago. What did the expert tell him? He said, oh, dinosaur skeletons are 100 million years old. So if he has worked 5 years since that he was told that, then he's adding the 5 years. He's suggesting a certain kind of exactness, precision. I want to make sure I've calculated it well. Meanwhile, these are all not measurable. How do you measure that? It's just mathematics. They're using math. That's why we call it pretending to be precise. These things often go unquestioned. As soon as you hear the figures, let's say, suppose it was an archaeologist or whatever that found that out and said, so this, I mean, the skeleton of this is 100 million years. No, nobody asks for the data. Nobody asks for the site that they excavated. Nothing. People just take it hook, line, and sinker because there were mathematical figures included. Pseudo precision. That's what is going on. I hope that helps. Then I'll take Osei-Kuffour and now close his hand. Osei-Kuffour, partner.
Yeah. Madam, please, yes, please. This isn't really like academic question, but then I still want to ask. You see, we are learning like to acquire critical minds with this course. And then in the real world, some things aren't like, like pertaining to examples. For example, misplaced vividness. We have many instances in the real world, like in an African setting, where maybe your mother tells you have a friend that married from a certain tribe, and then this what happened to the person's wife. So you shouldn't. So now that we are acquiring like the critical thinking skills, I'd want maybe a little guidance on how to approach certain things. See, maybe not every instance, maybe some instances where you can be very critical, some instances you shouldn't, and you know.
Thank you, my brother. It is still academic. Don't worry. The point is, it's difficult. It's very difficult because mommy or daddy may say, look, you are saying it's only 3 instances I have. So I'm concluding in a haste. Women are not reliable. Have you heard my son? Hmm. The mothers you can be telling the girl, men are not reliable. Have you heard? Don't trust man. If I tell you what Johnny Bravo did to me, and the story is so impactful, the advice is so down to earth, but I tell you, my brother, it's still hasty generalization. So your question is how to mitigate that, how to or mediate the actualities. I don't want to call them realities, but the actualities of social and human living versus the critical thinking around it. You have to, you see, this is a secular class. I want to be careful about so many religious examples, but sometimes you know very well that the whole society is wrong. Say for about human sacrifice. Maybe in the past, people will kill some young virgins, 9 of them at a junction and spread their blood just so that we get good habits or mine good gold, for example. The whole society is wrong as far as we are concerned now. That we just have to have a good soil, loamy soil, if that is what will thrive, make the crop thrive. And make sure we check the weather patterns and get good fertilizer and manure and stuff like that. And we'll get good harvest. But if you go and tell this entrenched, system, you see I'm speaking, I'm not even talking persons, I talk the system and say that no, these things are all not important. Stop all this. If you go and say it that way, you may not finish speaking, your head will be off. Why should we kill someone to accompany, our current dead quote and unquote king to the other world? And we want people who don't come from here to do that, to be killed and put into the. These are all supposedly past things, But I'm saying, how did it change? If you just got up one day and said, I think all these things we are doing are a cake, we should be enlightened. What you won't finish saying enlightened, your tongue will be out, your head will be in the coffin. You have to be tactful, apply a lot of tact. So I was going to say what Jesus does. He came to, people like annul or not necessarily annul, but improve, so to speak, quote and unquote, the Old Testament. But he allowed that system to run his life till he died to initiate the new. Not because he didn't know. He said, baptize me, do this. They took, pigeons to sacrifice for him. All those were done. Meanwhile, now he says that you can speak directly to the Father. Why didn't he come and say, all these things people have used, throw it away? No, he went to the synagogue. Meanwhile, he said, now you're going to worship in spirit and truth, not at places. But he came and allowed himself to go through that system to correct it. And so what am I saying? You want to tell mommy or daddy that, I think you should slow down with this thing about so-and-so lady comes from so-and-so place, and our neighbor's late wife comes from there. You see what the woman has done to the guy? My colleague at the office too, the same. She comes from that place. She did the same thing. And just this afternoon, I've seen that the woman who sells at the junction has done the same to the husband. He too comes from there. These people who come from so-and-so, women from so-and-so places, when you see them, run away. That's what that is advising. Your mommy is advising you. How do you go and tell your mommy that is hasty generalization? How? It's difficult. So you navigate it with caution. So I could ask the, Bishop Penny, for example, that if it is important that we kill some other human beings to accompany Nana to the other world, why wouldn't you be the right person to go? See, with respect and a lot of innocence, but speak it, ask with respect. Then it is better for you to go. You see, you tell because you would know what Nana will eat in the other world better than the foreigner. You know the time that Nana will go for Deba. So you will get his things ready for him in the other world. If you let somebody who doesn't know all these things accompany Nana to go and serve him there, how will he know the food Nana will eat? So the Nana's first wife and her children must also die to go and see if anybody will continue with that. Before long, they'll say, I think we should stop. Because the reasoning behind it, that's all I'm trying to show, can be questioned, but you have to do it with a lot of tact. So I agree with you. A lot of the things we are saying, like if I wanted to buy a product, I would be interested in the source. You see? But the question we are asking is, should that alone be your guide? That the fact that you see the label on it, Italiano, should be enough reason for you to get the shoe. You won't even examine it. Then people will cut labels from shoes and put in the one that they produce at another place. All you will look out for is the label. And if you see the label, then you will buy because it came from so and so place. That's a fallacy, okay, which we are trying to point out. So I don't know if my reactions help you see the point. You tread cautiously where there are established, quote and unquote, established in the sense that people have done it, so they don't want to even question it. Systems. You always have approach such matters with what? The posture of asking rather than telling. Ask it so that the supposed rationale behind them can be said. And when they say it, ask further probing question elegantly, assertively, yet with a sense of innocence, not a sense of I came to show you the right thing. Then you won't get the change you are looking for. But that is really a very real problem, very actual problem of society. Okay, partner. Thank you so much for that. Let me take Flossie.
Madam,
Yes, Auntie.
please. I'd
You
like to
forgot your
ask.
question.
Oh no.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to ask if during the revision week and we are not clear on something, please, how will be
Your university will not pay me for that too. Flossie. You don't pay me for extra hours. But I serve my students, so I'll be available. Don't worry. I'll be available. I do a lot
so
of WhatsApp communication. Don't worry. That was said in jest. Don't worry. You can use my, that's why I give you my phone contact. I'm on your WhatsApp platform. You can post it there or send it to me personally. I'll react. But a day to the exam, so I'll speak with Jeremy after this or Charles and the two of them to confirm your exam day. A day to the exam, I won't be able to respond directly to questions about content. It's not good for you. You will get jittery. You see that. But before then, we can engage. Why not? Though your school won't pay me. My time is very expensive. But we can do that. Okay, plus. So no worries about it. Now I can take you. Welcome. Let me take Abna and then Felicity, and then we can close for the day and for the semester. Enjoyed myself. Maybe should I pause this thing for the questions to make it lengthy? I'm stopping it, but